You're listening to Slick Talk, the hospitality podcast, a podcast for those who are in and around the hospitality industry who love, live, and breathe what they do. You can join us for candid and unscripted conversations with hospitality experts and founders as we go deeper into their personal stories while they're sharing their triumphs and trials that got them to where they are today. I'm your host, Wil Slickers, and you're listening to an episode of Slick Talk, the hospitality podcast. Now, let's begin. Meaghan fucking Moylan, welcome to Slick Talk once again. How we doing?
So good. We're doing so good. We've already had so many giggles and we just got here.
So many giggles, so many gigs. This is going to be a different episode for all the Slick Talk listeners. This is a bonus. This is a little extra in your week that we wanted to give you and grace your presence with. But we're not here to talk about anything really short-term rental related. We're here to talk podcasts and your show, Workflows and Espressos.
Mm-hmm. That's what I would prefer to talk about anyways. I do like short-term rentals, but I like me way more.
Yes, let's get around the fire here and have our mugs, which shout out to the old Slick Talk mug that my mom is still carrying in her
oh, that's cute.
Her pantry. Yeah. You can't really see it, but it's okay. For the listeners, I'm sorry if you're not watching because you need to watch. But Meaghan, let's talk about your show, Workflows and Espressos. There's been a lot of back and forth. I think we realized that the people, the listeners, the community, the world really is missing the world wants more. The world wants more. We had over 30 messages come in saying, season 2, love this episode, love this show. So talk to me. How was working with HFM on building season 1? Did you enjoy your experience?
So I'm going to have a separate video where you're not present and I'll give the real unedited version. But no, it was so fun. The way that I've described it to industry friends who have listened and really my family, probably I always joke with Wil, every time we get a listener, I'm like, it's just my mom on a different platform.
Yeah, it's just a new app.
When in reality, she probably doesn't even know how to work the Apple Podcast or Spotify and has probably never listened to it. But it has been so fun. One, getting out of the day to day and doing something different has been so cool. Being able to interact with a network and so many people that I've never met or talked to before outside of my day to day role has been such a creative outlet for me. And I always joke with Wil that I'm not creative at all. And I think Workflows and Espressos has made me realize that creativity isn't are you a good drawer? I can't ever really say that word. Or artist, right? Or are you a musician? That's what I used to think creativity was. And this is totally different than that. So I loved it. I'm excited to do more. I was really nervous about after the 7th episode came out, would anyone ever say anything or would it just go into the abyss and never be spoken of again?
Everyone's just oh, that was cool. That was cool. Anyways, let's move on.
Forgets about it immediately.
Yeah. No, it's been really cool. I think this was an experiment on both of our parts, right? Getting you comfortable, not being a guest, naturally being the host. There's no interviews the whole season. There was just you and Kelsey and sometimes me behind the scenes. And it was definitely an experiment, especially, for your first time going. And the results were great. I will say it wasn't, we're not hitting call her daddy numbers or Joe Rogan's numbers, right? With, yet, with millions of downloads an episode. But the feedback, I think watching it come in, it's really cool for us to see the amount of messages you got. And then even seeing the comments and stuff on LinkedIn or reading the reviews, the YouTube channel, all the stuff was really fun to watch it happen and not be that person in the seat, right? I wasn't the host. So it was really cool to watch. And we had a lot of fun. The bloopers, though. The bloopers. I was there for the bloopers. That was
I think it was you
awesome.
that I asked where I was man, what does everybody else's blooper reel look like? And you said nobody else has bloopers. Like you're the only one. Is it because no one else
100%.
messes up? Like, is that it?
I wouldn't say no one else messes up, but it's just like usually a quick mess up, or it's like, hey, I want to start that over. And that just gets cut, right? Like, it gets cut, Control Alt Delete, and the editing skill masters behind the scenes blend it together and
So
make it
no
great.
one's as awkward, basically. Everyone's like very normal. And then there's me.
Look, let's not say awkward. Let's say you have the perfect podcast personality because you're quirky.
Yeah, it is a quirk. I will say too, like, I felt so intimidated. So for the story of Workflows and Espressos, Wil texted me like a week or two before Christmas and said, I think he literally said, have you ever considered hosting your own podcast? I may have had an idea. I think is exactly what you said. And then he sent me the like season 1 logo. Is that how you describe it?
I honestly think I just sent you the cover art of the show with your face on it and like Workflows and Espressos, and was just like, what do you think?
And it was born. Like, I was like, okay, let's do it. Amazing.
Yeah.
And I think 2 weeks later, right after Christmas, we started recording. And I remember like talking to you and you saying, I want the show to be different because I want it to just be you. And we're not going to have a co-host unless you're like insisting that you need one or want one. And you're not going to do any interviews. And that part was what I was most excited about because I think it is really unique, especially in our space. Like there are so many incredible podcasts in our space, but I don't know if there are any, or very few at least, that don't have like a co-host or it's not interview style. But it was also super intimidating because you have to hold the audience's attention for 30 to 40 minutes and it's just you. And I think that's where like the quirkiness came out because this is how I am in real life. Like obviously you and I are good friends, so you know this about me. But
100%.
I was worried that if I was just super serious the whole time, or maybe like I put on my professional face for the entirety of the episode, that it would be like a snooze fest,
Mm-hmm.
And we never even really talked about that too. Like you being like, hey, try to be funny, or like, can you make this not super professional or whatever?
Yeah, for me, I think we've talked about this behind the scenes and I've definitely talked about it publicly on like LinkedIn and other platforms. But for me, it's really exciting to find like a voice, right? Where like Meaghan Moylan, right? You're a voice and you've been a guest on many shows, from Slick Talk to GMH to our operators roundtable to all these things, right? And you have all these good nuggets and these good things. And I could tell that when you are talking and when you are in that position, people do listen. Like I could tell that people look at, all right, like Meaghan Moylan knows what she's talking about. You have that ability to capture people and not be like that super serious the whole time. And so our kind of goal with this whole thing, the reason why I told you I don't want to co-host, I don't want this, and I didn't tell you to be funny or be serious and all this, is because I wanted you to make it your own. And I think that's what made the first season a success in the sense of you made it your own. Yes, granted, like there is credit to the network and to Kelsey and to everyone who made the edits and kind of got everything set up, but really like you controlled the content and you controlled like how you presented that in a way that you felt listeners could engage and actually relate to you, which is so important because I think a lot of people could take it too serious, right? You could be like, all right, well, I'm going to be a podcast host. That means I have to be all buttoned up and I have to do that. And it's like, no, your listeners don't want that. They want to actually connect with you, and people connected with you. Like it was cool to see. We put a folder together with all the screenshots of messages and whatnot. It was I actually still read through them. I'm like, oh, this is really cool.
That was shocking to me because it's like, they'd come in like one by one, people just saying like, hey, I've been listening and I really like it, which that's the other thing about putting content into the world. And I've asked your opinion on this so many times. Like when you're recording it, right? And it's just me and you and Kelsey, or just me and Kelsey in the studio, you don't ever actually imagine people driving in their cars listening to you, or getting on a phone with someone who's really well respected. And then like I was talking to Ashley Ching a couple weeks ago, the founder and CEO of In Haven. And she was like, I was just listening to your podcast. And I thought to myself, like, what? Other people are listening to this? Like, you just don't really think about it, right? Especially like people that you respect within the industry. So it is like mortifying in one way. You're like, oh my God, I need to go back and listen to every single episode because did I like make any sense at any time that I was speaking? But then you hear like really good feedback, and that's been really exciting too. So anyway, I like talk to you all the time, like, hey, do you ever think about the content that you put out and like actual humans listening to it? And you're like, oh, yeah, 90,000 people listen to it a month. So yeah, I do.
Yeah. Well, I think about it because like Slick Talk, over time has definitely gotten big, and we have such a great community and listenership. But then at the same time, I think I also told you is like, I've been doing this for so long that I kind of forget some of the stuff I talk about. Like there is a database back here with conversations and talking points and comments and statements, but there's so many of them that I'm like, oh shoot, like I should probably pay more attention to what I say, because people do bring it up at conferences, or they'll post their own thing on LinkedIn and then tag me or the podcast and say like, oh, this was mentioned on a Slick Talk episode. I'm like, oh shoot, like I forgot that I said that.
Yeah, you're like, what episode?
Yeah, I'm like, what episode
was the other me?
Yeah, that was like I blacked out during that moment. I don't know what you're talking about. But no, it's super cool though, because it does the podcast medium specifically. We do have a YouTube channel for you, and we do like the video clips and whatnot. But the audio medium is so unique. It's very much, it feels one way, as you probably felt through the first season. Just it is one way. You're putting it out, and you're not hearing a lot back in the sense of the same format. And if you are, you're getting that small like trickle, right? Like one message here, and then a couple of days later, another message, or whatever it may be, however frequent. And it doesn't feel like it's a blast of comments and feedback. So it's super unique, and I find the audio medium to be really intimate and special. I think there's no content format that can really compare. Like you can compare TikTok and YouTube Shorts and Instagram Reels, but you can't compare a podcast compared to a video that's made to be watched, not listened to, right? So there's just so many.
There's like a vulnerability there for sure.
Yeah.
That doesn't exist in like other mediums. Well, and like you said, I mean, both of us too, right? Like I speak on panels pretty frequently in person or even on webinars where there is like a live interaction where you say something and someone immediately can comment on it. And these episodes, I would record a chunk of them during a certain time, and a few weeks later they'd be aired, and you're like, oh God, well, I recorded that 3 weeks ago. Like, what if my opinions changed since then? Or what if I've learned something new? Or what if I regret what like it's so vulnerable. And then I think about, I'm on TikTok. Like I don't post on TikTok, but I'm on TikTok, right? Which we talk about this too all the time, because I always want to send Wil TikTok videos, and he's like, I deleted TikTok. I'm better than that now. And I'm
my brain, it just was so consumed with TikTok videos. I was like, I have to actually work and sleep if I want to move forward. So I have an addictive personality. So it's like, all right, I need to. I was always looking for that dopamine on TikTok, and I was like, I gotta get
those hits, man. Clark calls it blue facing. So he'll come home and be like, "You blue facing?" And I'm like, "Yeah, I'm blue facing." But TikTok, right? Like
I blue light?
Yeah,
because the blue light. Okay, I was like blue face.
Yeah. Last night he was like, "We should watch a movie." It was like 10:30, and I said, "We've blue faced all night. We should not watch a movie. We need to like play a game or something, or like have a conversation." Because we're both like we have like the circles in our eyes that are spinning around like zombies. Yeah. But TikTok stars will always talk about like negative comments too, and how, you see those videos where they're like, I just didn't anticipate getting all this hate. And you watch it and I think like, well, you had to have, because you're posting your whole life on TikTok. And then doing a podcast, I was thinking to myself like, oh wait, you actually don't. Like I never, which we haven't gotten any negative comments, but we could. And
we've gotten one on YouTube. Do you not remember that?
No, what did it say?
I sent you the screenshot. I'll have to pull it up, but keep going as we're talking. I'll find it. It's pretty. I think it was on one of your shorts. Like we took a bunch of clips from an episode and
maybe it was Robin Cragen saying, "I can't believe I just watched this whole thing."
The London fog video. So funny.
But that has been too, like there's a vulnerability in like putting yourself out there and knowing like people could say mean things about you, whether or not they're like within the industry or in hospitality in general. Do you get negative comments on Slick Talk ever?
I haven't seen any on YouTube, and I haven't gotten like a message where someone's like, I hate your podcast and you're the worst. But, you know, there's probably some people that I definitely, so it's funny because there's some old reviews on Apple Podcasts that like are praising the show. And then it's like a 1-star review. And you're like, oh. And then you see like 1 or 2, like 1 stars or 2 stars. And you're like, okay, like there's definitely people, there's feedback in that sense of getting a review.
Yeah.
But there's no real comment and there's no conversation. There's like no name to the rating, right? So I think that was like, I remember getting that first like 1 star back in like I don't know if it was during 2020 or during 2021, probably 2021. And I remember getting it and just losing it, but like, what? This is the first negative thing anyone said to me in 3 years or 4 years or whatever the time period was. And it's like, my heart was broken. But then I moved on because I realized, you know what? Hurt people, hurt people.
Hurt people, hurt people. Honestly, show your face. It's always too like the people without the like the profile pictures, you know, and their name is like user 1,782. Wow, I guess my hate comment wasn't horrible if I don't even remember it. What is it?
No, it literally, so it says, it was on one of your clips where it says changing the narrative of how short-term rentals benefit communities. And the comment literally just says, you're not benefit, like they're like saying you're not benefiting communities. And so we commented back under the Workflows and Espressos page saying, thanks for your opinion. Like just was like, thank you. I think that's the only like hate comment in the sense of
wow, okay.
Yeah. So it was on a short, you know. And then there is Robin Cragen who said, did I really just watch this? And it was your London Fog video. So Robin, we don't count that as hate. We appreciate your support.
It's borderline, but we won't consider it fully hate. That 100%. Is really funny. Yeah, maybe the ones that would get to me would be the ones that are like, you have horrible style. You're not funny. Yeah. Your outfits are ugly.
We didn't post your bloopers on YouTube, so I wonder if we can stir up a couple hate comments on YouTube from those.
Yeah, we could make a folder of hate comments. And
we could.
Mine too, like I'm worried that people aren't going to like my voice. And that freaks me out because that's all you have listening to a podcast. And I always tell you that like I hate the sound of my own voice, which I think is like a universal human experience.
It's everybody in the world, unless you're just graced by God's perfect touch of angelic voice, singing and talking, I think everyone's just going to be like, oh yeah, I hate my voice. And then
it's like listening back is so hard.
It is hard. And I think I will say 90% of the time it's because you're new to podcasting in the sense of like being the host and running your own show. I think in the beginning, I never listened to my episodes. I would be like, nope, I'm just like putting it out there. I don't care how I sound. I don't blah, blah, blah. But now it's like becoming a practice where I do listen so I could get better at not saying like and and actually articulating my thoughts better and knowing when to change my tone, like pitch and all the other stuff. So it becomes more of a thing to get better. But I think you and I talked about this probably in the beginning before we even launched the show, but you and I are both fans of Crime Junkies, right? So Ashley Flowers, Britt, and I remember the longest time listening to Crime Junkies, especially during COVID when I binged it when I was on like National Guard duty and just doing all these testing sites. Like literally that's all we would listen to in our hazmat suits. You just get like 5 dudes and like a couple Air Force nurses. And literally we're just having a phone in the middle of our like table and we're all just in hazmat suits, just like hunched over listening to Crime Junkie. And it was because the longest time I never looked up Ashley Flowers. I never knew what she looked like. I just knew her voice. So the first time I actually saw her face, it was like, whoa, I did not put like, especially Britt, I did not put like face to voice together. It took me a while to adjust. And so I wonder how many listeners of your show are in the same position where they hear your voice and they have like an image of you in their head. And then they like go to LinkedIn and they're like, what?
Who is that? It's like during COVID when everyone was wearing masks, and then when you saw people for the first time without their mask on, sometimes like months later, that would blow my mind. Like people,
especially if that's your first time meeting them, right? Like if you just met them during COVID and you met them with a mask on and then you meet them in person again without it, you're like, what?
Yes. We had like when we first took over one of the businesses that we manage now, I had just started in this role. We had just met the team and everyone on the team was wearing masks. They were roasting coffee every day. And 6 months later, I want to say, I saw them without their mask for the first time. And I remember being like, what? It's crazy, like the image that your mind creates, based on like someone's voice. Clark and I are really into American Idol. And so we'll like kind of do the voice where we'll watch it like without looking. And then I'll be cooking or something and I'll turn around and be like, oh my God.
See, that's so good though, because it's like Love is Blind, right? Which we're also big fans of. You and I binged season 6. Like I cannot. For all the listeners out there that feel like they're learning something new about me, I will tell you, I'm a horrible binge watcher. Where it's a sickness. I feel like sometimes I'm like, my friends are like, wait, you want to hang out? I'm like, no, I don't. I don't want to get out of bed for 3 days, and I just want to watch all of this.
I can't hang out with you. Well, and then you were traveling when it was really like the end was coming out. So I'm texting him being like, oh my God, have you watched the reunion yet? Like, did this happen in this? And he's like, I need to go to my hotel room right now. I'm like,
100%. I was like, I'm leaving this VIP party and I'm going to watch this.
God, it's so good. But I always say, because I'm like this with books too, like give me any trashy book that's not worth reading. Like everyone, you go to conferences and everyone is like, have you been reading Adam Grant's newest book or what is Simon Sinek's? I'm like, no.
Unreasonable Hospitality.
Yeah, no, I've been reading.
Big fan of the book, but
yeah, I do love that book. But no, I've been reading Harry Potter fan fiction is what I've been reading. And that's how I'm with TV shows too, right? Like I think me and you in stressful, like high powered jobs that have teams of people that report, like, I don't know, when you're using so much of your brain every single day in so many different ways, like when I am done for the day, like I do want to watch Love is Blind until my brain rots out of my ears. And I do want to read Harry Potter fan fiction. Like that is my unwinding time, right? Like I'm doing all the things that you have to do. I'm trying not to eat as many carbs as I was. I'm in my 30s now.
I know, misengaged, getting married in November.
I'm on my wedding diet right now. So I have been doing Pilates 5 times a week, right? Like all the shit that you're supposed to be doing. And when I get home, literally last night, I watched The Bachelor finale for 3 hours. And then I read my Harry Potter fan fiction. And it was amazing. I had the best night. And then I had to wake up and use my brain again,
Right. Well, I had an episode with Chris Osaka from Temu where he and I were talking about vacationing and like how we are as entrepreneurs. And my biggest thing, and especially what sucks with my friend group, but is also kind of a great thing with my friend group, is that my friend group is super active. They go skiing, they go snowboarding, they want to go hike. And for me, it's not that I'm against the activity. I don't know how to ski or snowboard, so that's a big obvious like hurdle for me. Not going to happen. I also know what I'm very interested in and not interested in. And when I do have time for like vacation or going up to Steamboat for the weekend, I don't want to be spending it thinking a ton on all these things. I want, like on vacation, this is what Chris and I were talking about, is when I go to Mexico, I want to be at an all-inclusive resort. I don't want to have to think about what I'm going to eat, what I'm going to drink, where I'm going to go. I just want to lounge and obliterate my whole like time there, in the sense of, like you said, I want my brain to become mush. I don't want to think about anything. I just want to enjoy and relax and do whatever I feel like doing in that moment, rather than being like super on it. Right. And so,
work hard, play hard. I've been researching resorts also. So if you have any good, we're trying to pick our honeymoon destination right now. And I was going toward like Thailand or the Seychelles off of the coast of East Africa, and
Singapore.
The Maldives. Singapore. And Clark's like, well, why don't we stay in Puerto Rico? Because that's where we're getting married. I'm like, no, come on, man. Let's do something wild that takes 40 hours to get to. Yeah. So anyway, if anyone knows any really good resorts, I'm on the honeymoon scene right now.
I've also heard from friends that did plan a crazy far honeymoon in the sense they had a big travel itinerary that they also said
Yeah.
they hated it. They're like,
And it sucks.
We
You're probably
wish
so
we just,
tired too.
yeah. They're like, we wish we just stayed put for like a week and didn't like hop on all these flights and whatnot. So I don't know. Just I'm single
Whatever.
still. So what do I know?
For now, we're going
For
to get
now.
you a gal. We're going to be
We'll figure it
celebrating
out.
your wedding before we even know it.
Hey, I have a year. I want to get married. I want to get in a relationship before I'm 30. So, we got some time.
Okay.
We got some time.
We have some time. You're new. You're fresh on the 29.
All the Slick Talk listeners and Michael, who is editing this episode, is going to be like, wow, I feel like I learned so much about Wil's personal life.
This episode should really be called like information on facts about Wil.
Yeah. No, but we need to, let's get back to the conversation. Let's get back to Workflows and Espressos before I start blushing to get red.
Let's do it.
So you have an announcement, right? The people wanted
Yes.
Workflows and Espressos back. So what are we doing? Do you want to give the people the good?
I want to give the people the good. Okay. So we had a lot of options with what we wanted to do with Workflows and Espressos. And we talked through each one of our options. So option one was, it was great. It was 7 episodes. We went through every aspect of managing or owning a short-term rental business on like a high level scale, right? Like we talked about guests, we talked about owners. That was option one, right? Like just leave it. It was perfect. We loved it. It was such a great time. So the thing about
not picking it up again was option
not
one.
picking it up again,
Great run, good work.
It was a great run. It was a mini. Yeah. It's similar to the OC. Like it was short-lived and it was beautiful while it lasted. So the thing about me and Wil is we can't not be doing something together now that we're friends and we know that our personalities just are like, they mesh so well together. So option 2 we talked about was, well, let's just do a season 2 of Workflows and Espressos and we'll do another short, like 7 episodes. We'll see how it does. It'll be the second season. If people still like it, they'll keep listening. Maybe we'll get more listeners. We can like dive deeper into certain subjects. And we talked about that, but that just didn't feel right either. There was something about it that felt too like finite. We need something that's going to just last, which is how we came to option 3. And we said, what if we did Workflows and Espressos for the foreseeable future every single week? And when we put option 3 on the table, both of our faces just lit up like 2 Christmas trees. And we were like, yeah, that's it. Let's freaking do it. Let's go. And so, listeners, Workflows and Espressos is back, and it is back for good every single week soon.
Every Tuesday. Yeah, every Tuesday is going to be coming out. So we don't have a launch date yet of the time of this recording. There will probably be some stuff in the show notes if we get closer to that period where you can look at more. Obviously, it's going to be linked in the show, but I think it makes sense because I will say, Meaghan, like in the sense of we did the trial. We figured out like it was I think we saw a lot of success in, just having you be the host, no guests. Not that there's anything wrong with guests out there. Trust me, we love guests, especially on the show. But it was a great opportunity to create something different that isn't in the sea of shows that have a lot of similar formats. And I will say, like Hospitality FM is guilty of this in the sense of we have a ton of shows in the network that have a lot of interview-focused style, like formatting. Mm-hmm. That is the name of the game. A lot of the shows we don't own and control. So at the end of the day, we work with those who have built something great and they have an audience as well. But it was so fun. And so I think this season, or not season, I'm still stuck on seasons for Workflows and Espressos, but I think in the sense of the show, like I think we have proven the concept and now we can open up the door for, specific guesting where it's like outreach by us or by you and having the ability to bring in experts on certain topics that, the listeners have showed interest in. And it's crazy because like watching that folder fill up of all the comments that you got of like listening to your show, like this is so great. I love this episode or I love this. And I love like just all the flood of feedback. I think it was just like, yeah, let's just move forward and bring it back. Like it was a good trial to test and tease. Now the people have shown, and through the numbers, we have seen the numbers like still continue to grow, which is crazy because it's been almost a month since we actually published an episode.
I know.
Yeah,
the people have spoken though, and they want more. 100%. They are like, we are missing this like awkward person in our life that sometimes has good pieces of information, but mostly is just like deeply uncomfortable to listen to. And they want it. So we're going to give it to them. So we are going to keep a similar format. We talked a lot about this too, like what we wanted to do with permanent workflows and espressos. And we both love the like solo format for the most part, right? Where it is something different. It's unique. Will just kind of spoke to it. And so we're going to keep that. We are going to solicit some feedback from listeners and hear more about what you guys want to hear from me. And we're very excited about that. And then there's also a lot that I feel like we didn't get to talk about in season 1 that I'm super excited to dive into soon. And when it comes to guests, we want to be very selective, and we want to make sure that it's rare. But when we do have a guest on the show, it is pertinent to the topic and like someone that has either been requested or that we both feel really like strongly would make a huge impact on the audience that we have. And so stay tuned for what that looks like. We already have thrown some names around internally, but I'm freaking stoked. And like more than anything, I'm so grateful to you, like my greatest friend who's given me this like really cool platform. And I mean, aside from the platform, literally HFM does everything. Like you do everything. Like you and your team and Kelsey, who I just miss dearly. Like it has been such an experience for me. Like I show up and I record and like get to be myself, and then you create magic from there, which I still don't know how you guys do it behind the scenes. And it's just like the greatest experience ever. So I'm so excited.
Well, thank you for the great praise. But I think Kelsey is the wizard behind this. And so for the listeners, you've heard Kelsey on the show before. She's popped in to do our Slick Talk monthly recaps, which we did about 5 or 6 of. And then she just got so pregnant that we're just like, let's just wait until you're back and like not put this pressure on you to record and do all these things. Because, you know, first time mom about to have a baby, we just didn't want to put that pressure on her, and was like, look, getting ready for maternity leave, which she's on now until June. Unfortunately for us, but great for her and her newborn baby boy named Maverick. He's a happy, healthy baby. And mom's doing good too. So shout out to Kelsey for, again, seriously being one of the greatest. And the rest of the team, Michael, Claire, you guys are awesome too. FYI. I don't think they're going to listen. Michael's going to see this when he edits, but it's just been, super fun to have the ability to become the network that I think we wanted to become. And we weren't really in the beginning. We had a lot of shifts as HFM. So being able to find like our own original that's doesn't have the word short-term rentals in it, doesn't have the word hospitalities in the title. It's literally something different and creative. And you're a great host. And even though you may hate your voice, I think you actually do have a great podcast voice. So just tons of cool stuff in the works. And I think, for the people listening, I think they're to avert away from the closed door of audio, right? This is a very much a one-way street. So workflowsandespressos.com is the website. I'm making this public because it's going to put pressure on me to actually get this spun up and actually have it ready by the time this goes live.
I know you're talking about it. And I'm like, what?
I know. But we own the domain. So workflowsandespressos.com will be up and live. You'll be able to listen there directly. And then also we're going to have an Ask Meaghan section. I think we're going to keep the website simple. There's not going to be a ton of stuff. You can use it as a way to listen and tune in. But there will be an opportunity if you don't, if you're not connected with me or Meaghan or any of the team on LinkedIn or any other social platform. We want to open up a door for communication with listeners that request guests, request topics, request whatever, or just have fun feedback and stories to tell. I think we'd love to hear all that too. So that's going to open up and it's going to be fun. We're going to have a little new style to the show, audio, visual, all the good stuff. So I'm pumped. We're bringing it back.
Pumped, bringing it back. And you guys know first.
Yeah, outside of the post that we're about to, outside of the post we're about to do on LinkedIn and this episode, and subscribe. Like and subscribe. Make sure that you're
follow Workflows and Espressos on TikTok.
Are you on TikTok?
No. That would be so funny, though.
I would say, shoot, Kelsey, come back. We need you to make
Kelsey,
a TikTok.
should we start putting these bloopers on TikTok? God, that's where the really mean people are. We'd find freaking gold mean comments if we went live on TikTok.
Look, I think we all know where this is shifting, Meaghan. It's shifting to your official comedy channel. We know this is what's supposed to happen. Mm-hmm. We just need to take the hate and turn into funny laughs.
You're right. Like, I needed short-term rentals to be the conduit with which I launched my comedy career. And, 100%. I love the industry, right? Like, it's all great. We can still talk about those things, but let's have fun too. Let's joke.
All right, Workflows and Espressos will have 20% industry talk and 80% everything else.
Just stand up.
Just stand up. Well, that's I think official. So of course, super excited to keep working with you. It's funny that you and I got introduced to each other at VRMA. No, was it VRMA or was it the TravelNet conference?
It was TravelNet.
Yeah, so we got introduced at the TravelNet conference in September.
Yeah, less than a year ago, which is so crazy.
And then shout out to Joy Ritter from Sojo who did the official intro, because I was like, hey, who should I interview at your guys' booth in the morning? And the night before at, I think one of the happy hours or whatever, she was like, oh, you got to meet Meaghan. And I was like, dope. And then you and I just became besties.
And the rest was
shout
history.
Out to Joy.
Shout out to Joy. Thank you, Joy.
Yeah, we're going to take over the world now. So she's probably
dynamic
introducing us. Yeah. Maybe you should just host Slick Talk too. Maybe I should just bow out. I think this is your show now too.
Zach Boozy Cruz was trying to get me. He was like, we got to do a show together. It'd be so fun. And I'm like, you got to get through Wil first. Cause we already got a team thing going on.
Hey, Zach, I got to give credit where credit is due with Zach, because he is a true marketer though. He can, his skill set is, what product do you want? And then he'll sell you the product and then he'll build it. He goes reverse, right? He is the people want Meaghan, and he's got a popular show too. So it's the two of you is the product that he's going to go sell before it's even made. He's great. He's great. So if you do launch another show with Zach, let's just say HFM gets 40% of the IP, and then I think it'll be fine.
Basically, you own the whole thing. It was your idea. You did introduce us. So of course you get credits there.
The commission of being the connector and bridge builder, I like to call it. But hey, at the end of the day, Slick Talkers, this is where it gets nitty gritty. Like and follow, subscribe, all the things, Workflows and Espressos. Meaghan's LinkedIn is also there, so give her some love on LinkedIn. And let's say stay tuned, because at the end of the day, we don't know when the next episode is going to launch, but we're launching it. We're building it. So Meaghan, schedule your photo shoot. Let's get all the stuff, and we're ready. We out. We're ready. We out. Peace. All right, Slick Talkers. We'll see you all again next week. Thank you so much for listening, and thank you to our show partners for making Slick Talk, the hospitality podcast, possible. We hope you enjoyed the show, and we would love to connect with you outside of the podcast. So you can follow us on all of our social media channels for daily hospitality content, or find us on slicktalkthepodcast.com. And don't forget to rate, review, and subscribe so you never miss an episode. I'm your host, Wil Slickers, and we will see you guys all again next week.